of the whole city. Wherever you are, when you depend on God for His blessings, when you depend on God for His words, nothing of this mention will paralyze you with fear. Because they that trust in the Lord is like Mount Zion that cannot be moved. I'll cite maybe 3 nations in the world, what is happening, those who are depending not in the Lord, according to the second point. Our country, the Philippines, depended on humans' agenda, human ways, and the way they've been handed down the traditions or culture from the bygone leaders of the past. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo rightfully assessed that over the last decades, our Philippine Republic has become one of the weakest, steadily left behind by its more progressive neighbors. Now, 40 years ago, the Philippines is second only to Japan in economic stature, and way ahead of Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Thailand. That was 40 plus years ago. Today, at our present growth rate, it will take the Philippines 30 years to get to where Thailand is today, because we are depending in our human ways. Now, countries that depend on God, that's why we have to come back to depend on God even in Australia. England, ascendancy to world power, was preceded by Reformation, a spiritual revival fueled by intense prayer. That's why even today, England is still prosper, because this land has been backed up by spiritual revival on the past and still believing God. Now, America and the early settlers of America, they built their trust in God, and they were disciplined in their prayer life throughout its history, especially as its major turning points. Waves of revivals and prayer movements sweep up across the land of America. And this land, America, is the #1 missionary sending nation in the world in financial support of all the evangelization of the world. Yes, for now, the tide is switching to another direction in America today. They are now depending on human brilliance and human strength. And now America is starting to become independent from God. Listen to this. God is slowly pushed out in that nation as the central key blessers of America. Any nation who disregard God one day will come to nothing. Now, in recent times, we see Korea, a nation experiencing revival, and on the process of producing the largest Christian church in the world today. A city without God will crumble from corruption in evil on in the inside, and eventually will become a history. You know, we cannot make the same mistakes by the failures of many nations and many families by setting aside the most important person in our home and in our country for our protection, Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. Now, you can see, in vain you rise up early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for He grants sleep to those He loves. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat. For God give rest to His loved ones. That is from another translation. Now, God is not against hard-working families with goals and dreams to make them feel fulfilled and successful. People are born with a drive to accomplish something in their lifetime. It's innate, it's part of you. On the other hand, God does not tolerate nor condone lazy people. Thessalonian church says, Paul said, no work, no eat. In the book of Proverbs, a wife of noble character, chapter 31 of the book of Proverbs, a virtuous woman, waking up early, preparing the food for the family. During winter time, there's no problem about the family because they're all warm with good clothes and indulge in business. And not only that, we can see working so hard for the family is not sin. And even the husband is praised in the community because of the wife. Now we're informed about the ants preparing for the winter time. So there's many food and they are not running out of their supply of food because they are bright and they know how to prepare. But this verse is not talking about to working hard, but it is talking about for someone who focused so much in the material aspect of getting so much money and working so hard at the expense of the most important riches in their life, which is family and relationship. We see so many mansions and glittering diamonds in the home of the rich and the famous, and houses that are really very, very expensive. We see it in the television. Elton John is worth, the house of this man is worth $140 million. A man called Donald Trump, with a big house somewhere in Florida. The living space is 50,000 square feet. Living space. And the price of that house is $125,000 in Palm Beach, Florida. God is happy to bless us. But it is another story when God is not part of your dream and my dream. In aspiration, as we attain the great achievement, when God is not involved in it, we'll be in trouble. So you can see, yes, they have a house that is firmly built. It is huge and beautiful house, but it is not a home. The human desire is security for money. Took the true riches, which is God in the family. You know that big homes and billions of dollars are not the answer to the true meaning of life. And so the Bible answered this wonderful fashion for the human greed for riches. Now, for he gives to his beloved even in his sleep. Take note of the next word. Even in his sleep he gives. We all need adequate rest. And we need all spiritual refreshing for our bodies. Let us maintain the balance in life, especially in the Western culture that you and I belongs today. Our care must be to keep ourselves in love of God, then we may be easy whether we have little or we have much in this world. But we must use very diligently the calling that God has placed upon you. If you have much, do it as a faithful steward. If you have little, do it as a faithful steward. And don't worry. And the Bible says, casting all your cares upon Him, for He cares for you. Now the Bible says that children are heritage from the Lord. Children are a gift from the Lord. They are the reward from Him.